Hi, folks. Joe Giannina here. Welcome to my shop. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a drum sander I made a couple of years ago. Uh, a drum sander probably really doesn't have that much application in wood turning, except if you're getting into segmented turning, uh, making rings kind of like this right here for segmented work. Because everybody should know what that is. Uh, and you could finish these things on a lathe, or you can go ahead and make all your rings and then run them all through the drum sander and get them to the thickness that you want, and make sure that they're all uniform in thickness. Uh, this works real well for me. I really didn't want to go out and spend $1,000 for a drum sander. I don't use it that often, and I really don't have the floor space for another tool in my shop. So I just thought I'd go ahead and utilize the lathe, which works beautiful. It's got variable speed, at least mine is, but even if it wasn't, you can still set the speed wherever you want it. The drums are made out of a PVC with sandpaper, real easy to do, real easy to make, inexpensive. And anyway, I thought I'd share this with you folks and show you what it is, how it works, and how I use it. This is the drum sander installed on the lathe with the drum in place. And I'm going to go into detail on how these pieces are all made after we do a little preliminary work here. You can also see that I have a dust collector attached to the top, and it really works quite well. It picks up just about all of the dust. I have this sheet, this little door here, that covers the front. It also allows you to sand your pieces, and allows for enough air to suck all the dust up. You can adjust that door to whatever it is you're cutting, you're sanding, but this distance right here works quite well. There's a similar one on the back side as well. The one thing that I don't have on this is a belt feed, but I don't really find that to be a difficult issue for me. What I do is when I make my segmented rings, I actually hold them together with a nylon band and with a mechanical cinch, and I pull these up pretty tight. So then I leave this on. This gives me something to hold on to when I'm running it through the drum sander. And I'll go ahead and show you how that works. I'm going to turn off the audio because I'm going to turn the dust collector on. Anyway, what you notice that there's absolutely no dust in here. Every bit of this dust has been sucked into my dust collector, and it really, really works nice. Um, what I was doing, stop the lathe here. What I was doing was adjusting this. There's the carriage bolt that raises or lowers this with the table, and then I've got a little bit of a crank wheel right here that I lock it down. Just turned a little bit and lock it down, and it holds it pretty good. When you're making one of these, it's essential that the spacing on both ends is identical. And I'll go into in a few minutes how to adjust that when you get this set up. But basically, that's about all there is to it. This is just a frame that sits on the bed of the lathe. Any way you can do it, and your roller just is set between your two centers, your spindle and your live center. So really, there's nothing to it. And these have to be custom made for your lathe. Let's go ahead and talk about how it's built and how I made all the pieces for it and what they do. So, by the way, the drum is 17 inches in diameter, in length. I'm sorry, not diameter, in length. I can sand up to about a 2.5 inch thick piece of wood through here. I've got quite a big range between a really thin strip and a good sized piece of wood. And by the way, I do use this occasionally if I do, if I rip some thin pieces on my bandsaw and I want to sand them for accent pieces or whatever. It works quite well. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about how we actually build this device. Okay, first let's start with the drum itself. This particular drum is made out of this PVC is about 3.5 inch OD, which I think is called 3-inch PVC. This is Schedule 40. Schedule 40 PVC is what I use. A little bit heavier wall thickness, and this is actually the basis for your drum. The drum itself is made of the PVC to just about any length that you want. If you want to build a longer one, that's your choice. But this particular one is the one that I wanted. Each end has got a wooden plug put in it, and I put it. It's set in there with epoxy. I did drill a hole in the center. I turned these on a lathe to make them so they perfectly fit inside this PVC. Then I bored a hole in it. On the tailstock end, I have a bearing. Just any ball bearing will work in there, and use your live center. Use your live center to spin on it. On the other end, I turned a filler piece for it, same as I did on the other end on the lathe. I bored it and I tapped it with a 1 inch by 8 thread. And the reason I did that is I have to have this adapter, which is converts 1 inch to 1.25 inches, which it screws in here. And the reason I did that is I needed to get a space between the drum and my headstock or my drive. I needed to create a space in here. So the next thing I had to do then was calculate the sandpaper that was on it. Well, it's really not very difficult. What you do is you, let me set this right here. To calculate your sandpaper, it's the pi times the diameter, basically. That's your circumference. That's the circumference of the circle. So what you want when you have your sandpaper on here, the circumference of this particular device Okay. 3.1416 times the diameter of this is 3.5. 3.5 equals 10.9956. So for all practical purposes, we'll call it 11. It's close enough for this job. So what you want to do is draw a line. Now this is going to be on the drum this way here. So we want to come right down through here. So we turn this over and we measure 11 inches from here to right here. Wherever those two, anchor it down and bring it over to 11 inches right to the edge of your sandpaper. Now, when you cut on this line, I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a line that runs from here to here. We'll cut that line. This here then attaches, that would then attach to the drum, and you could hold it in place with a screw or spray adhesive, really anything you want to do. It really doesn't matter. And when you wind it all the way around, it'll be perfectly tight that when you get to the end, go ahead and mark a line around the inside of it and cut it off. Again, you will have another line just like this one here. So if we were to put this here and wrap it around that drum, basically that's about how it would fit. And once you got this wrapped around, you just mark this in here and cut it off. Anyway, it's not that difficult to do. This is pretty thick sandpaper. I don't know if I would make a drum with this heavy of a paper. On here, I think I've got 150, and it works quite well for me. But anyway, this is basically all there is to making the drum itself, and that is the key part of this thickness sander, this drum sander. Now, you don't have to do this. You could probably find another way to extend this off your drive center, bring it out. I happen to have this and it works fine, but you could probably put it up pretty close if you wanted to. But okay, let's get on to the actual device itself. Okay, this is the actual thickness sanding mechanism. On the bottom here is a plate that fits in the bed between the bedways. This is just a lock, and it's secured by a thumb wheel or hand wheel up above here. There's a, I don't know whether you can see it or not, but right on the base here, there's a hand wheel, a knob that tightens up on that. So in effect, this piece here rests solidly on the base of your lathe. Let me get this one. I got this thumb screw up here. This here plate sets on the lathe bed. This here is adjustable. It's hinged like so. It's very critical that this board be parallel Your drum rides in here, and it is totally independent of the housing. This is sitting between your live center and your drive center on your lathe. So this whole mechanism basically is freedom. Well, it can't move because it's attached to the lathe bed, but it's totally independent. So what you have to do is marry the two together. Getting this here piece to be parallel to the drum itself is accomplished by shimming this piece here. There's a filler piece at the bottom and top plates, and each of these are screwed in, so you can actually shim this plate, either one, the top or the bottom. Just shim it up or down so that this is parallel and contacts with your drum all the way across. Now, if you're making one of these and you start out with your drum, before you put the sandpaper on the drum, you put that on your lathe and you raise this platform up with a piece of sandpaper underneath it, and you can sand this drum itself without the sandpaper and get all the high spots. Or if in fact the drum is not, if the drum is not perfect and it's got some highs or lows, you can actually sand it off before you put your sandpaper on the drum. Then you know you got a pretty good device. So anyway, I think that pretty well covers it. On the back side here is the adjustment. This here is just a bolt that you could raise up or down, and once you get it where you want it, you lock it down. And if you want to raise it up a little bit, you just turn it, unlock it, and just turn this maybe a half a turn back down, and you're ready to go again. It's just a carriage bolt that this table rides on. There's probably 100 other different ways you can do this. For me, it works. It's the easiest way I know of to do it. So this carriage bolt on the bottom, there's a T-nut inserted in this base. So this rod just goes up and down in the T-nut. And this happens to be a locking wheel. This is a piece of wood with a T-nut in it also that I happen to have, so I just used it. This is just one of many, many ways you can make one of these things. So